Fresh off their world tour, Steve and Carrie Smith live in the Miramar today. Thank you for joining us. I know it's not a world tour, but you guys have done thousands of miles of traveling in the last 6 months.
Yep. Yeah, it's been almost, oh boy, if I added it together, over 5,000 for sure. So
that's a lot. So let's kind of go back to last fall. Okay, everybody's on quarantine. The kids are home from school. At what point did the two of you get together, or was it just one of you that said, you know what, we're going to buy an RV and we're going to go see everything we wanted to see?
Oh boy.
Well, we took a road trip to Missouri in his car, and it was actually the first day of school. We were traveling back and we stayed at a hotel, and we're like, we could travel and do this. I mean, we've got this time. Maybe we should do that. But then came the problem of checking out of a hotel before the end of the school day, and how do we make that work? So I floated the idea a couple days later, like, what about an RV trip? And he was like, that might not be the worst idea. So
it started off looking at rentals and different styles, and eventually talked our way into just well, I mean, if we're gonna do it, let's just do it. And looked at a couple and found this Miramar that we loved nearby, and the rest is history, I guess.
So when you sprung the idea on Jackson and Ryan, what were their initial reactions?
They're up for anything. They're pretty adventurous. We traveled a lot before COVID, so they're used to going places. They,
yeah,
it was nice to be out of the house. I mean, nobody had been out of the house in months, so it's just nice to be able to go somewhere, and they felt the same way.
Strangely enough, our kids don't get that excited about things, so we've done enough with them that they're just like, all right, if that's what we're doing, that's what we're doing, that's fine. And you sort of live and learn. The first trip, we traveled a lot more just during the week, and they had school while we were literally moving down the highway. And Jackson's playing his flute while we're going 65, trying to record stuff for band and whatever. The second trip, we decided to travel more on weekends when they didn't have school, to be more stable during the week while they were in school. That's a sort of live and learn scenario, but they really rolled with all of it. We were really impressed.
Yeah, they're really flexible, so they never complained, even when they had to do school on the road.
And one of the things I liked, and kind of walk us through, because of everything that happened last year, I know Jackson's 8th grade trip to Washington, D.C. was canceled. And so you guys decided, you know what, let's go see some of the things that you're going to miss out on. So I think that was a brilliant idea. Carrie, are you going to take credit for that?
I am, actually, yes. We originally thought about going to the Northeast, but there were a lot of quarantine restrictions up there. So we decided that we'd have to take a different path. And at that point, I was like, Jackson was going to get to see Gettysburg, and he was going to get to see Washington, D.C., and he won't be able to do that now. So I was like, maybe it won't be the same because it's, with your parents and not your friends. But maybe we can take him to see some of the things that he missed out on, wasn't going to get to do. It's not like they were making it up. It was just a lost trip for him. So it was a lot of fun to be able to do that with him, even though, we weren't with his class. Yep.
A couple of the first stops of that fall trip were Gettysburg, and then just outside of DC. And it was really neat to just be able to tour around and see things. And wasn't really sure what to expect from DC, just with quarantine and what it was going to be like, but it was really pretty great. Like a lot of the things that you'd want to normally see, like the Smithsonian's, and those were closed, but all the monuments were still open. You could walk around the mall and get an eyeful of everything that's going on. And there was one point in the evening where we had the Jefferson Memorial literally all to ourselves, just the four of us in the Jefferson Memorial, just sitting there staring at, reading the words and looking at the statue, and it was really neat.
That had to be, because you really, when you think about it, you're never going to get another opportunity like this again, ever.
No, never.
No, that's, we've said this at the age that our kids are, so 12 and 14, now almost 13 and 15. Really, we will not ever get to do this with them again. At least while they're in high school. Summers get busy. They'll be in school normally, hopefully again soon. And that we just will not have that opportunity again. So was like, it's now or never really. So we just sort of jumped the opportunity and are trying to make the best of it.
So you got back from the first leg of your trip. At what point did you all get together and talk and say, you know what, this went so well, schooling went so well on the road, let's go ahead and head out for another 6, 7, 8 weeks, but go see a different part of the country and you can learn again on the road?
Mm-hmm. I mean, we started planning, at least thinking about the next trip before we got home on the first one. You know, we knew we would enjoy it. We weren't really sure just how much we'd enjoy it or what we were what we'd expect. And I think most of us got done with that first trip, and as we're pulling in the driveway, feeling a little sad that it's over already. And so we've been talking about, you know, well, when's the next time that we could head out? And between the holidays, and there was some stuff in January that we had to do in town, but you know, February opened up again, and so we decided to take. At first, it was going to be 3, and it ended up being 5 weeks from middle of February to nearly the end of March. And just headed south this time. In the blistering cold around here, we decided to try and get a little bit of warmth. So I ended up in Georgia and Florida.
What did you find were the biggest challenges when it came to this? Because this had to be new. I mean, the virtual school, not really new. I mean, there's the e-learning and all that other stuff from home, but were there any challenges that you were not expecting to come up? And was it a learning experience for everybody involved?
I mean, obviously it's a learning experience for all of us. You know, we've never done anything like this before. We've done similar things, but I've, you know, never even driven an RV before we got this one. And so, you know, it's kind of like just take life by the reins and figure it out as you go along. You know, clearly did a lot of research before we left on the first one. And, you know, the more you're in it, the more you understand how things work and what to expect, and, you know, what you can fix on your own and what you can tolerate. It's really just take things as they come. It's pretty much how we roll. But yeah, nothing, I wouldn't say anything was like prohibitively surprising.
There was worry about, you know, is there going to be enough like privacy and space for such a long trip, and especially the kids who would probably need quiet when they're taking tests or doing recordings and stuff like that. But we found that like there's plenty of like spaces in here, like what Jackson usually did his right at the booth. Sometimes Ryan did hers in the bunk room with the doors closed this trip. You know, they were camping, Steve and I spent a lot of time outside. So the kids, like, they had their own areas inside and didn't feel like, you know, they were constantly being listened to or watched while they were doing their schooling.
Yeah, it was nice. So we could all have our individual spaces when we needed it. But, you know, even within 250 square feet or whatever you have here. So it was, that was a good thing to find. It was still, you know, we would spend a lot of time together, but it was still areas of the day where you could sort of step away and have your own time too.
Now, Carrie, were you still doing your mask business while you were there?
I was, yes. I brought all my sewing stuff along with me, and when I would get orders, I would set up my machine on the table in between the front 2 seats, use the like kitchen area for my cutting and pressing and all that. So yeah, we just lived life here. It wasn't really like a vacation in the fact that we didn't do things. Like, we just lived life in a different place.
Yeah, especially the second trip. The first one was a lot of figuring out things and exploring different places that we hadn't been. The second trip was really just living our life in a different place than normal. You know, we really approached it that way from the beginning. And so, I mean, I worked during the day and the kids did school, and Carrie was doing math stuff. We'd, you know, we either cook here or, you know, do campfires or go hiking or whatever in the evenings. But the day was really just like the things we'd be doing normally at home, just not at home.
With some better weather,
yeah,
especially this last trip.
So because, you know, the school year is going to be winding down here, and gosh, you got spring break, and then they'll be out before you know it. Are Jackson and Ryan, do they want to continue to do this? And I mean, because it's got to be such a neat learning, different experience, or is there a part of them that wants to get back into the classroom? I know, you know, especially, you know, as we get into the craziness that is the marching band season and all the friends Jackson has, or has this really kind of changed their perspective on the whole outlook of just living in the moment?
Yeah, I would say that Jackson has really embraced that. Especially, I know he was obviously not disappointed, but like again, when we got back from 5 weeks on this trip, pulling in the driveway, we were all a little bit, it's bittersweet. It's done, and we were it was a great time. And when we floated the idea of maybe going on another one later, he was really excited about it. Brian is a little bit more like wants to be home a little bit more. I think mostly just for her friends and people that are around here, which is how we feel as well. Like we like going places. It's good to be back and see friends and be back around the people that you're comfortable with. But I don't know. Do you think that?
Yeah, I mean, I think you.
So what you got another big trip planned this summer before all the craziness starts again in fall of school, or you think, you know what, we're gonna see what the summer and fall brings and we'll make up plans from there?
That's kind of how we are. We don't typically plan really far in advance. It was like 3 weeks from our most recent trip. I think it was about 5-week planning time from our first trip. We were just waiting for Jackson to be on marching band at that point, so we had some time. But you just got to see what it brings. I mean, it's hard to plan anything right now, and we don't know what the summer's going to look like. Our kids do 4-H fair, so they'll have some of that to do, and that kind of cuts into the middle of the summer a bit for a long trip. I'd love to be able to go west, and that feels like a summer thing because of the time change.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Maybe not this year. Maybe next summer. I don't know.
Yep. What advice would you have for people who are thinking about this, families who are thinking of doing something completely different, teaching on the road? I mean, because I'm sure there's an element of homeschooling, and then there's the on classroom. But throw out your best advice for people who say, you know what, I love what the Smiths did, and I want to go ahead and just dive in and go.
I feel like for us, it was best case scenario. I don't really have much interest in actually homeschooling my kids, being the one they learn from. So the fact that they could be learning from their, school teachers in a different place was best case scenario for us. Some people don't have any problem with doing the homeschooling, in which case I would say jump right in and do it. We've enjoyed this far more than, we thought we would, but far more than I think we ever believed we would. I expected to miss home, but when I got home, I was like, I miss the RV. I miss, being places and having some adventures when otherwise you're just kind of stuck at home.
The advice that I would give is to just, if you're gonna dive in. Like I said, learn as you go. Don't feel like you've got to know everything ahead of time. Learn some, watch some videos, learn from people that you trust, but really it's just taking things as they come. Just enjoy the process is the best thing. That's, I think, what we've enjoyed the most about this is, rather than feeling like you're living your life to the point where you can get to a vacation or to something, you're sort of doing both of those at the same time. You're being able to do your normal everyday stuff just while also sort of picking your head up and looking around you and enjoying where you're at as well. That's been the best for us.